So as we're letting people in, I'll just start talking and say that I'm Liz Carnelley and I'm the director of Near Neighbours. And Near Neighbours is a charity which works in about 8 areas of the country, bringing people together of different backgrounds and faiths. And our aim is to promote understanding and trust between people of different backgrounds and faiths. We've been going for about 10 years. So one of the things that we do is we offer these free webinars for people to join us and hear about some interesting things or something that will help to equip you or some information that will support you in what you're doing in your community. So what we're doing today is hearing about something called the Money Help Hub. And the Money Help Hub is a free resource that aims to help people around issues with money. So it helps individuals, it gives them things to think about, but it also helps community groups who can begin to broach the subject of finance in their area and help to support people around some of these issues with money. And we all know the cost of living crisis is affecting us all, and it's something very relevant today. So all the resources that we're going to talk about today are all free, and afterwards we'll be sending through to you, if you've signed up for this webinar, quite a lot of information as well so you can follow up with. So I just want to say thank you to Lisa and Tara, who are my colleagues who are running this webinar today, and to Amy, my colleague, who's going to act as our chair and act as the person who runs it and makes it all work really, really smoothly. So the first of 3 webinars in a series, and we'll talk about the other 2 coming up later on. But I hope you enjoy this one on the Money Help Hub. So over to you, Amy, for a bit of housekeeping and practicalities.
Thanks, Liz. Yeah, so if we haven't met before, my name is Amy. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for coming along this morning. I'm just going to share a little bit of housekeeping for us before we start this morning. So this session is being recorded, but please note that your face won't be visible on the recording. And we will be sending you around the recording to you afterwards. We'll send it via email, and we'll also pop it on our website so you can direct people there who might want to see it, and you can catch up afterwards as well. Now, for questions during this session, Lisa and Tara will be answering any questions that you have. So please do pop them in the chat box as we go along. As they come to mind, just type them in there and we'll pick them up towards the end. So you should be able to see a button somewhere on your screen that says chat. It might be at the bottom like it is for me, or if you're on a phone or a tablet, it might be at the top somewhere. To have a look. If you can't find it, you'll have an opportunity to unmute yourself and speak. But do pop them in, there's no stupid questions, and we'll pick them up at the end. That's it for housekeeping, so we can get started, and I'll hand over to Lisa.
Thank you, Amy. Hello, everyone. Welcome this morning to the Money Help Hub webinar. My name's Lisa Broom. I am the Youth and Community Programme Manager, and my role straddles 2 of our 3 charities. So I work across Near Neighbours, and I also work for Just Finance Foundation. My work with Near Neighbours involves a young leaders programme called Catalyst, and we work with young people across the country to develop them as young leaders and also look at kind of social action and social change. And my work with Just Finance Foundation is about how we can support communities with financial issues. And so this is where the Money Help Hub was born. I'm going to just run through the agenda, and then I'll pass over to Tara, who's going to start the walkthrough around Money Help Hub, and then I'll pick that up from Tara as we go through. So we're going to do quick welcome and introductions. We're going to talk about, we're going to do a brief overview of the Money Help Hub. We're going to hear from you. We're going to have some breakout sessions just to get us started. We're going to talk about the community finance, the community leaders section, which is about supporting you to support others in your community who might be struggling with the cost of living crisis. then we're actually going to stop the presentation and actually walk you through all of the website and all of the website and all of the resources that are available on the website that you and individuals in your community can access. Then we're going to talk a little bit about how you might use the resources in your community. Then at the end, we'll have a brief poll and opportunity for questions, and then we'll finish, and we're aiming to finish by 11 o'clock today. So the hope with today is that by the end of this session, you'll feel confident to promote the Money Help Hub in your community, and understand how you can create your own workshops and use the resources available to help those who are struggling financially in your communities.
Okay, brilliant. So to me, so I also work with Lisa, and I work across the 3 charities. So Near Neighbours, as Liz mentioned before, is all about building stronger, more cohesive communities. And we do, amongst other things, we offer small grants and we offer seminars like the one you're viewing today. This is sort of a collaboration between Near Neighbours and the Just Finance Foundation. So the Just Finance Foundation, without going into too much detail, we have a lot of sort of things for younger children, so financial education. And we also, the adult programs are all about addressing gaps and upskilling local leaders. To that end, during COVID, we supported 1,800 people in train-the-trainer workshops, and these were all about having conversations in communities, budgeting, and there was some COVID-specific guidance. And part of our collaboration with Near Neighbours was actually to get it translated into multiple languages. So we had Arabic, French, Polish, etc. Amongst our children's programs for Just Finance, if you are interested, I recommend Googling Milo's Money. It is a fantastic resource which is about a dinosaur who earns money for doing chores, and then he has to decide what to do with that money. So it's an age-appropriate way of teaching children about money. And it is our belief that if you actually teach children at a young age, so a lot of our attitudes toward money happen in childhood, so it's by addressing it at a younger age they can have a better future sort of financially. And we also have a savings club which actually amongst our children £320,000 is currently being saved. So the community finance resource, as touched on already, is about sort of exploring financial pressures and everything that's happening with the cost of living crisis. And it's not intended purely for, so I know there's a lot of stuff out there for the lowest incomes. We're looking at the low to middle income households because they're actually the ones hit sort of the worst financially at the moment, and it's to serve the networks and communities. And there is signposting resources, of course. So some of these facts, even if you don't know, you are aware because you'll see things in your communities. So I think not included on this slide, but I was speaking earlier to my colleague, and it is we have for every one council house becoming available, 6 families are becoming homeless. So this is a problem that is only going to become worse. Obviously there's a lot of hidden homeless, but so 1 in 3 households in fuel poverty are actually ineligible for the government funded cost of living mitigations. And if households with children are 3 times more likely to have fallen behind, and twice as likely on bills, and twice as likely to be fallen behind on rent or mortgage, and social renters were more likely to be in fuel poverty than owner occupied. Anyway, back to Lisa with more positive information.
Thank you, Tara. I mean, it is a stark reality, unfortunately, and you know we're very much still in the cost of living crisis. And you know, the Money Help Hub has been around now for just over a year, or just coming up to a year. And we're very aware that it's as relevant today as it was a year ago when it was first created. You know, the Money Help Hub is there for anyone who is affected by the current cost of living crisis, which is pretty much most people, if not all. You know, those who are finding themselves in financial difficulty, potentially for the first time, don't know where to go to support, don't know where to go for support. These the Money Help Hub is a series of guides, and they offer practical ideas for cutting costs and how to take control of finances. We're also aware that for some people their situation has gone beyond that, and so we also offer a range of signposting to places where people can get further professional support. Alongside the resources for individuals, we've also got a dedicated community leaders section, and I'll be going into detail about that a bit further on, but essentially the community leaders section is there to help you to support others in your community. And there's a whole kind of toolkit around that, which I'll go into detail about a little bit later on in the webinar. So what is the current financial landscape like locally? So, you know, we're aware that there is currently quite a lot of support already available for people in your local communities. And what we'd like to know is what is already on offer to support people with financial issues in your current area, and what's working well. And another thing that we'd like to do is we're gonna do a bit of a breakout now, and we'd like to kind of start a bit of a conversation. And this is how easy it can be when you're working either in a group setting or even with an individual, you know, to get a conversation started going about money, which isn't always easy. We just kind of want to demonstrate the range of things that can come out of a simple conversation starter, which is, when you were growing up, what did you learn about money? It's that simple. What we're going to do now is we're going to go into some breakout rooms. So in your breakout rooms, there'll probably be about 3 or 4, 5 of you potentially in each breakout room. And we're going to discuss these 2 questions. So the first question is, what is already on offer to support people with financial issues in your area and what's working well? And the second is, we want to know about what you learned about money when you were growing up. Okay. So, I mean, have we got one person from the first group who would like to share a little bit about what you talked about in that breakout room?
So I just said a few examples. So locally, we work in North and East London. So Hackney Council have been quite helpful in terms of making premises available for organisations to run provisions, especially for those in need, at 0 cost. So that's ensured that as other costs aspire, organisations can still run. I touched on locally where we're based, they have kind of food providers locally that once or twice a week they'll just put a whole load of food on the tables for local public to come and take it as they see fit. Also, we'd receive some mayor's funding to ensure that during the holidays we can feed our young people and young adults on projects. I think that's one of the biggest things. And then the final thing I touched on is probably still a concern, is a lot of families struggling with rent and being forced out, and more having to relocate further and further afield. So that's probably the challenges and some of the solutions that are taking place locally.
Right, thank you, Sab. Someone like to feedback from one of the other groups?
Anissa, wasn't it?
So
Anissa?
be me now. I'll go. So learning. Oh, so what's already on offer? That so one of the ladies was from Birmingham, another one from Manchester, and there's like a fund that there's like a certain allowance per household. So one for Birmingham it was 200, and Manchester's like 300. I should know London, but I don't. But we were also talking about like sort of social savings, where a lot of people who are working from home will have warm spaces that they can go to work, and whilst it's not a physical amount of money, it saves on electric and it saves on lots of other things, and also like probably should imagine mental well-being, being just around other people. So where I am in London, like there's a restaurant that's done it, and they've sectioned off the back, and for £15 for the day you can work there as a hot desk, have unlimited tea and coffee and one lunch, which for me is huge in terms of what I would spend in the house working from home. So those kind of things, it's not actual physical money, but there are things. we kind of the minutes were running out when we got to the second question, but we talked about this, like, I've forgotten which the terminology again. Is it partnering or in the Caribbean community
Partner,
where you
it's African Caribbean partner.
yeah.
Where we
So
put-
yeah, so you explain it because
Yeah,
it's
where all the communities are ones on one, family or probably friends, put money together, and maybe at the end of the month or end of the week, everybody gets all that money together, and we do it as a partner till when it's finished. So, take for instance, if you put £10 a month in there, you end up 6 months, you get £60 or whatever that mathematics might be. So, that is a part of savings, and it's religiously every week. So, yeah.
Great, thank you.
so yeah, we didn't finish much more than that, and I'm aware of that. It's weird because I'm Caribbean heritage, but in the Indian side of things, we never had anything like that. But they do different things in terms of supporting the community. Just if I wanted just to add one little thing, both of my parents are from sort of small islands, and we just got taught as a young age is to always count your money and have money. Like, so we didn't have spreadsheets back then, but we had a notebook where you would sort of calculate what you had to spend for sweets, what you had to spend for going out with friends and things like that, and anything that seemed like a fair amount to ask additionally, you would do something to earn it. So I still do that with my children now, actually. So it's kind of like a little pattern that I learned from my parents and I passed down to my boys.
Great, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing.
That's okay.
Would anyone from one of the other groups want to share?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes, so I'm from Manchester City Council, and there was someone from Peterborough, someone from London. Was it 2 people from London? Sorry if I've got that wrong. But we were discussing, like, there is loads going on. So in my area and in Peterborough as well, we were talking about there's loads of food provision, pantries, fridges, food banks, things like that, and lots of linking in with other agencies. So I was saying I was working at a session on Thursday where we got Citizens Advice, the energy advisor, in, to talk about sort of the income maximisation, different tariffs, although there's not a lot at the moment, and like they can look at benefit checks and things like that, and it's great. There's loads going on, but also that sometimes there's not enough, because it's not. There was someone there who they got £270 in benefits for the month. That was it. And their estate has been put onto heat pumps, and they're on a meter. And it'd been 3 weeks, and she put in £210 into that meter. So what are you supposed to do? There's no other, like, there were bits of grants that we could get them, but that's not an unlimited pot. And it was like, until the benefit system is sorted out, it's just so depressing.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's not easy, and there's so many people who are in a similar situation, and it's about, I guess, even, I guess the only thing you can do in that situation is try and signpost them as best you can, which I know is hard, and there are organisations out there who can try and support them as best they can in that situation, but I appreciate it's not an easy scenario to be in. Absolutely.
The only other thing that I'm from that group as well, the only other thing that we did also talk about was Sam from London was talking actually about their their organisation, and actually the financial struggles are not just on the individual people's the organisations who are trying to support people are also having a tough time of it, and I think the more we can do to help those organisations as well, the better, because everyone's struggling with it, the organisations and individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. And from the final group, was there anyone who wanted to say a few words about from that group?
I can say a few words. It's Michelle. So we had 2 of us were from the southeast, Romford, and I'm from Kent, from Gravesend in Kent, and 2 from Birmingham. And I think what's apparent is outside of the food banks and the well-known initiatives, certainly for myself and the gentleman from Romford, there isn't any sort of direct support, and I think that's the biggest issue. So I wear two hats. I work for Kent Adult Education, and I also founded North Kent Caribbean Network. And what I've noticed is with the Kent Adult Ed, if we're trying to put on financial management courses, it's hard to get them funded. And I think that's where the issue is that people genuinely don't know how to manage money, because it's not a skill that we were taught at a certain generation, certainly for most adults and those that are over 19. And from a network point of view, it's talking about the impact or the lack of generational wealth within Caribbean families, and acknowledging the fact that when most of our elders pass away, the families inherit debt rather than an estate or anything. So there isn't that much support around for that individual financial education. And I think that financial literacy is the key here. And that's the one thing that is one of the reasons why I've signed up for this webinar. But it's one of the reasons why I think a lot of our communities, especially those from different ethnicities in particular, are struggling now, because they haven't got the skills and the tools to actually manage their own finances. And there isn't that education support and knowledge that they can actually go to or turn to in terms of getting that information that they need to manage their households.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Michelle. It's interesting. I was in Plymouth recently delivering some focus group workshops around money and finances with adults, and there was a lot of anger actually from the people involved in the workshops around the fact that, you know, growing up they didn't learn a huge amount about money, and you know, they because they didn't have that financial literacy growing up, either from school or from their homes. You know, they were becoming financially independent and then finding themselves in masses of debt because they didn't understand how to manage their finances appropriately. You know, it goes back to the whole system of making sure that financial education is on the curriculum in school. Just about financial education being on school curriculums and how important that is. And I know there's kind of a big advocacy group at the moment that's trying to campaign for that. But it's so important. And you know, just having people when they become financially independent, being able to manage that is so important. And you know, these in terms of the I think what's interesting about that conversation, just, you know, you had 5 minutes there to just discuss two questions, and the range of knowledge and information that came out of that was phenomenal in 5 minutes. When we did the focus groups, we started each focus group with that question: when you were growing up, what did you learn about money? And each workshop that we did, I think we spent about half an hour to 40 minutes just discussing all of that, and people were learning from each other, and people were able to kind of signpost kind of where they could get help and support. And that in itself is just really, really vital. You know, if you can get a group of people together and just start a conversation, you'd be amazed at the level of information and knowledge that can be imparted and shared, and how much people might learn within those sessions. And I'll talk a little bit about the Money Talks guide in a little while. But we've got a whole range of those sorts of conversation starters, really, just to kind of start people talking. You know, we're all aware of how taboo talking about money and finances can be. So just trying to start with one simple little question, it can really bring up a range of information. And I was amazed actually at how much people within these focus groups were willing to share, and how much they wanted to share, and then how much knowledge was being passed around the group. So yeah. We'll carry on with the presentation now, if that's okay, Tara. Thank you, everyone, for your input there.
But in terms of what Just Finance Foundation do, it's quite interesting that actually in primary school education, we are not, you're taught about money in terms of numerical understanding, but you're not actually taught about money in terms of anything to do with values, anything to do with borrowing, debt, this, that, and the other. It's not actually a part of education, our education system. So one of the things we're trying to do is change that. And actually, it's only charities, and it's sort of like an additional thing schools can opt in to do rather than compulsory. And I think you can agree that if you had these skills from a young age, it'll be really beneficial. Okay, so I will.
Yeah, I was just talking about there was a group that was trying to lobby for change within financial education and getting that on the curriculum. So in terms of the Money Help Hub, as I said earlier, it's a series of guides to try and support communities. They offer practical hints and tips and simple activities, as well as signposting to further help and support. And then there's the community leaders section. And within the community leaders section, you've got access to further guides, a downloadable toolkit and a promotions pack. The community leaders section, as I said earlier, is designed to enable communities leaders to work with a group or individual to build their own course. And the idea being that we want you to best serve your community your way. All of the toolkit can be flexible. You can adapt it, you can change it, you can suit it to your own needs and your own community needs. We have the four main guides focus on these four areas. We've got mental health and isolation, understanding the signs to look out for when worry is starting to interfere with everyday life. We've got one on keeping warm and eating well, how communities can feel better equipped to manage and reduce spending without having to choose between eating and heating. We've got one on spending and saving as a family, about how to get the whole family involved in thinking about money and saving together. And we've got one on budgeting and managing money, and just trying to start to understand the relationship with money and feel better equipped to take control of spending. So carry on, Tara. So we've got a video here. We won't share it now just because we don't have a huge amount of time, but when I talk through the website, you'll see that each guide has a video attached, and the video essentially just summarises what's involved in each guide, all the information that's in each guide. The community leaders section that I spoke about is hopefully the one that you will be able to use in your local areas. It gives you access to a Money Talks guide, and as I said earlier, that it looks at I'll talk through it in a little while, but it gives you a bit of a breakdown as to kind of the reasons why people might not want to talk about money, how you can start simple conversations around money, and looking at kind of main stigmas really around conversations. It also, sorry Tara, if you just go back there. It's also the toolkit is designed so that you can effectively run your own sessions, so that you can, and they're all designed in a way that you can bring your own knowledge and your own local knowledge and expertise in that to each of the sessions. We're aware that you're the ones working on the ground. You'll know what's on offer locally. You'll know where the community pantries are, where people can access food hubs, where people can access drop-in community sessions, etc. So we want you to bring that knowledge. We provide the blueprint, but we want you to kind of input the detail in that. Okay, Tara. So what we're going to do now is we're going to stop the presentation, and I'm going to share my screen, and I'll talk you through the actual website and all the resources that you can access on there. So hopefully everyone can see that. So this is the website. If you go to, we'll send the link round, but on the Just Finance Foundation website, there's the community section, and within that is the Money Help Hub. If you scroll down, you'll see the four sections that I mentioned. You've got budgeting and managing money, keeping warm and eating well, mental health and isolation, and spending and saving as a family. If you click on the Find Out More button for each of them, if you click on that, it will then take you to the page that details all the information around budgeting and managing money. It gives you a short overview of what's involved, what's included in the guides, but then you can actually download the guide at the bottom of the page there. And each of the guides, if you just click on that, basically talks you through all of the different things that can help support people to build a budget, how to have a healthy relationship with money, and then little things that people can do, little tips to help people try and take control of their finances. And as I said earlier, we're aware that a lot of people, for quite a few people, that's gone, people are in a situation where they don't have the money to actually budget in the first place. So we do have links within all of this to get further help and support with debt and different signposting options within it. I'll just go back out of that. There's a summary video for each of the guides, and you can also download the video. So if you wanted to run a workshop and share the video in a place that didn't have internet access, for example, you can download the video locally and share that wherever you wanted then. Within, if we go back to the main page, so as I say, you can go through each of those different pages to find out further information. The community leaders section is right down at the bottom. If you click on download the toolkit, we ask you just to fill in a really simple form. The form is just there so that we can gather a little bit of information about who's using the toolkit and where it's been downloaded from. We just ask for name, email address, and a little bit about the group that you work for, what kind of organisation you work for, and the postcode. Once you click submit, you'll get access to a folder of resources. And within that folder, I can't get rid of that. Let's just see if I can get that up. Within that, you'll have the Money Talks guide. So this is essentially looking at kind of why it's difficult for us to talk about money. Those things that I mentioned earlier: shame, stigma, people's lack of knowledge, fear, some people having learning differences that can cause issues with dealing with money. Then we have tips for having a conversation about money, the do's and don'ts. Do affirm their decision to talk about money, don't express shock or judgment, assumptions, etc. All stuff that I'm sure you're all very, very accomplished in already. But this just gives you kind of a bit of an overview about the main do's and don'ts. And then we talk a little bit about the conversation starters and how simple conversation starters can really begin to allow people to open up about their financial struggles. There's a little bit in there about spotting the signs of a debt problem and how to signpost people if they are in debt to get some more support. And then at the end of this section, you've got a bit of a breakdown of conversation starters broken down into categories of spending, giving, borrowing and saving. And as I say, they're very much designed to just try and get people to open up a little bit about their money struggles. And then the final one that I'm struggling to open, let me just get that up, is this is the actual toolkit. And this is a long document. I think it's about 13 pages long. This is the first few pages in this. You've got a little bit about what we would like you to do with a session in terms of bringing your own local expert knowledge, making sure that you're signposting and not advising, talking about how you can start a session, welcoming everyone, instructions, doing simple icebreakers to put people at ease and try and kind of open up conversations, how to set the expectations of the course, talking about confidentiality, making sure that you're allowing healthy dialogue and allowing people to talk freely within the sessions without feeling pressured or having to share if they don't want to. And then from page 3, we've got the breakdown of each session. So this first session is looking at mental health and isolation, and all of them are laid out in a very similar way, where we've got the resources that you'll need for each session. And they're all simple resources, post-it notes, pens, labels, etc. The aims of each session, an opening discussion, and then we usually have an activity within each session. And this one in particular, this one about mental health and isolation is that looking at the worry tree, how people can, if there's nothing they can do about it, then how do you find ways to let that worry go? If there is something you can do about it, what is it you can do? And we look at an action plan as to how people can begin to break down that worry and think about how they can access support rather than letting it build up and get overwhelming. Then we look at tips for trying to help support people, and we suggest that you hand out the guides to people and potentially share the video with them at that point. And then in each of the guides we've got signposting support as well, and each of them are all the same format. So this one's on keeping warm and eating well. Similar thing, we've got the resources, the aims, an activity, discussion points, and ways in which, and then kind of ways in which you can signpost. And as I say, all 4 sessions are laid out in the same way. That one's on spending and saving as a family, and then we've got budgeting and managing money. Within the budgeting and managing money one, we've got a downloadable link on the folder of resources that you'll get to help support people with that as well. So some of the resources are contained within that. And that's it really. So as I say, all of that can be accessed just by filling out that simple form, and you get access to all of those resources. We also, if you go back to I'm going to stop sharing now and we'll go back to the presentation, if that's okay, Tara. So contained within the folder of resources, we also have a promotions pack. And the promotions pack is essentially there to help you to promote both the Money Help Hub resources for individuals. So if people just want to access the website on their own, they absolutely can. It's there for people to use. They can watch the videos, they can download the guides, they can see all the information that's contained within each of those different sections. And you can also promote your own workshops. So if you wanted to run your own workshop in your community setting, in your community group, you can download posters and input your own information within that. So you'll see a bit of that's essentially the poster right there. You can do this either in a poster or a flyer format. At the bottom there, you can actually add your own workshop details and say, you know, come along on this day at this time to this place. And all of that is contained within the resource pack, as I say. So what we're going to do very, very briefly, and actually I think what we'll do is we'll put this in the chat, if that's okay, just because I'm aware we've only got a few minutes left. What we'd like to know is how you might use these resources in your community locally. And if people are able to just pop their answers in the chat, and Amy, if you're able to facilitate reading those out, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Anissa has said with the young people, they mentor in 2 youth charities. Laura said be good to share with local groups and organisations. Jill's asked a question here, which is, can we put the links on our website? I will also get information into our newsletter, tell organisations we work with about the resources. So So is that okay if people can put that on there?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've actually, within the promotions pack, we've got suggested newsletter articles. So all the wording's there. You can literally just copy and paste it and change the details that you need to. So it's all contained within the resources pack, within the promotions pack, sorry.
Fantastic. More answers to your question with women from a BAME group. We run workshops in the community, and these additional materials will be very useful, and we can also translate locally. Fantastic. Friends, families will look into running a series of workshops with my group, and will share dates with other community organisations. I will feed back with my team and see how that will help our organisation improve to serve our local community. With our member organisations who deliver hyper-local services to specific communities and groups, also through our cost of living crisis advice clinic. Right.
Brilliant.
Markers there. I think that's probably.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. And as I say, you know, these resources are completely flexible. You know, they can be adapted to your needs. You know, you can use sections of it, you can use little bits of it, you can use the whole thing in its entirety. It's completely up to you what would work best. When I was down in Plymouth, there was we actually did one of the focus groups with a group of young parents, and you know, the spending and saving as a family one would have been absolutely brilliant for them to just have as a facilitated piece of a facilitated program, really, that can, as I say, it's about opening up conversations. It's about allowing people that space to talk. It's about sharing knowledge, not just from yourselves, which obviously you will have a wealth of knowledge about what's on the ground locally, but also with each other, and just how important that can be, and how empowering it can be, actually. People sharing, well, I access this, and this is really great. It's a really great resource, and someone who probably lives down the street probably didn't realize that they can also access that. So you know, it's very much about bringing people together to open up a conversation and have a dialogue. Fantastic. So I think we are going to go to questions now.
Just one more way that someone said they're going to use these resources in the chat. They said we will also share with those who claim the Household Support Fund. We have been approved by the council to submit the applications for local residents as they struggle due to a variety of reasons, such as digital poverty and language barriers.
Right, thank you.
I haven't had any questions come through other than that one about the website during the session, but it's not too late. If you have any questions, you can absolutely shout out now. Put them in.
Sorry, this question is not about this session, it's about the next session. So when is the next session, please, Laura?
We're going to go through that now, aren't we?
Yes, we do that now. Good question. Okay. Yes, we've got 2 more coming up in this kind of series in the new year, and they're all free, open to all, and they are writing for grants. So making grant applications for community activity. That's on Thursday, the 11th of January, 11 AM to 12:30 PM. So sourcing grants can be, and applying for them can feel really daunting. So we're going to explore in that the whole process of making a funding bid from the idea to execution. And we hope that you'll come away with a much better understanding of how grant funders work and how to best meet their needs with what you want to do with your project. And then the next one is in February, 15th of February, 12 noon to 1:30 PM, and that's facilitated conversation masterclass around having difficult conversations. So that's for anyone who's looking to improve their skills in group facilitation. So whether to aid with planning a community project, healing historical divisions, or for any other purpose, we're going to look at everything involved in that session. So you can go to that link there, which we'll send around to you as well with the recording, and sign up. Those are, free sessions just to help you out. Kara's just let me know that Samia, sorry, I can't pronounce your name, you've got your hand up. Do you want to ask a question? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, Simon. Yeah.
Simon.
Yeah, sorry, I can't type that fast, so I thought I'd
That's
just
all right.
ask the question. It's about the mental health and isolation with financial crisis, and I'm just a question about how can we, because there's lots of services we all offer, including counselling, free therapy for those that are in absolute debt and they need to work on themselves before they can even do any of the action plans. So I was wondering how we can link in with others, because it's free, it's online, it's virtual for those that have access to a room or somewhere they can meet, and how can we support each other in the group? So it's just that, really.
In terms of this group, do you mean?
Yeah, even because there's people who are doing things in this group. I've just heard, from the workshops that they're doing various things, and if it is a service that can be delivered outside of the kind of regional boundaries, like ours is, we have a number of virtual services like exercise, wellbeing, chat, and counselling, and a lot of it we've set up virtually because of the pandemic, but there's still a massive need for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd suggest the best way is probably through Amy. So if people have stuff that they would like to share about the services that you offer, if you share those with Amy, and then Amy can get all that information out to the group, that's probably the best thing. And then connections can be made that way. Is that okay, Amy?
Absolutely. Please do send me anything and I can send it round. I'll hopefully be sending out the recording either today or on Wednesday. So if you send it to me straight away, I can include anything in the email that goes out to everyone. I'll just put my email in the chat here so you will have it. That's me. And then Anissa, you have a question?
Yeah, it's just a really quick one. So that last session, I'm glad you sort of summarize what it is, but it's something that I'm really interested in and relates to a lot of what I want to try and do with all the work that I'm doing. If for any reason, because I freelance, sometimes work just comes up and I have to miss things that I've booked in. Is there a way of being able to access that should I not be able to attend? Because I really do want to, especially because you said healing historical divisions, I think that's something that I just is a bit of a fixation of mine. So I don't want to miss that one.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll record it just like we have this one. If you sign up, then you'll be in the list to be.
Okay, I'm already signed up, so I just would I just get it if I ask? Okay.
Shall I just say thank you to everyone for coming? Thank you for sharing, and thanks very much for Tara and Lisa's time to arrange and plan this and deliver it, and thanks to Amy for facilitating it. And do sign up to our future webinars, and Amy's put the link there for you to sign up. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you,
coming.
everyone.
Thank you. Hope it was really helpful.
Please.